The Valentine's Day Murder. Imagine receiving a bouquet of flowers and a sweet Valentine's Day card from your loved one, only to have your life brutally cut short just hours later. This is the tragic story of Kaylin Whitaker, a young woman who was brutally murdered by her ex-boyfriend on Valentine's Day in 2013. Kaylin, a 20-year-old college student, had been dating her boyfriend, Kendrick, for several years. However, their relationship had turned toxic, and Kaylin had finally found the courage to break up with him. But Kendrick refused to let her go. In the days leading up to Valentine's Day, Kendrick had been stalking Kaylin, showing up at her workplace and sending her threatening messages. Kaylin had filed a restraining order against him, but it seemed to have little effect. On Valentine's Day morning, Kaylin received a bouquet of flowers and a card from Kendrick, which seemed like a desperate attempt to win her back. But just hours later, Kendrick's behavior turned violent. He showed up at Kaylin's apartment, where he brutally stabbed her to death. Kaylin's murder sent shockwaves through her community, and Kendrick was eventually arrested and charged with her murder. But the question remains, could Kaylin's murder have been prevented? Was the restraining order enough to protect her from Kendrick's wrath? As we reflect on this tragic story, let's remember the importance of prioritizing our safety and well-being, especially when it comes to toxic relationships. Like and subscribe as we're about to dive into the second story. The Poisoned Chocolates. Valentine's Day is a time for romance, love, and sweet treats. But for one woman, a box of chocolates on Valentine's Day turned out to be a deadly trap. In 1959, Betty Gore received a mysterious box of chocolates on Valentine's Day. The chocolates were wrapped in elegant paper and came with a sweet note. But what Betty didn't know was that the chocolates were laced with arsenic. Betty's husband, Alan, had been having an affair and wanted to get rid of his wife. He had carefully planned the murder, using the chocolates as a clever disguise. As Betty ate the chocolates, she began to feel sick. She experienced severe stomach pains, vomiting, and diarrhea. Alan took her to the hospital where she was treated for food poisoning. But as the days went by, Betty's condition worsened. She became paralyzed and eventually slipped into a coma. It wasn't until later, when an autopsy was performed, that the true cause of Betty's death was revealed: arsenic poisoning. Alan was eventually arrested and charged with Betty's murder. He was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison. This story serves as a chilling reminder that even the most seemingly innocent gestures can hide sinister intentions. Pause, drop a comment if you're enjoying it. The third story is The Valentine's Day Stalker. In the 1970s, the city of Chicago was gripped by fear as a serial killer known as the Valentine's Day Killer terrorized the streets. The killer, later identified as Richard Riordan, would stalk and murder women on Valentine's Day. Riordan's modus operandi was to target women who were alone on Valentine's Day. He would stalk them, often for weeks or even months before striking on February 14th. Riordan's first victim was a 22-year-old woman named Donna. She was found strangled to death in her apartment on Valentine's Day in 1970. Over the next several years, Riordan claimed several more victims, each one brutally murdered on Valentine's Day. The police were baffled by the case, unable to catch the killer or understand his motives. But in 1975, Riordan was finally arrested after a witness came forward with a description of the killer. Riordan was found guilty of multiple counts of murder and sentenced to life in prison. But even today, the legend of the Valentine's Day Killer lives on, a chilling reminder of the horrors that can unfold on a day meant for love. Like and subscribe for daily scary stories of real-life past events.